I think another big piece of it too, and more so on the cross-departmental learnings, is like actual testing efficiency as well. Obviously, because we're spending so much on Facebook, a lot of the times we can test things a lot faster and we can test a lot more at once. Whereas maybe some on YouTube or TikTok, we don't have the same budget and we can't test, 20 different ads all at one time. And so we can test, a bunch of different angles, creative styles, copy, and different messaging landing pages on Facebook, and then apply those learnings to other platforms without actually having to, increase budgets there and test a whole lot more. We can find winners from Facebook and start to build them out on other platforms.
Brands, we need to talk. It's time to start texting your customers. Yotpo, the leading e-commerce marketing platform, has the most advanced SMS marketing solution to reach customers where they are on their phones. Yotpo enables brands to build unbeatable targeted SMS experiences to create customer connections and drive revenue fast. Visit yotpo.com, that's YOTPO.com, and get personal with SMS marketing today. Hello and welcome to All Killer No Filler. I'm Eric Dick. It is Friday in this weird Canadian-American long weekend, but we are super excited to bring together the Pilothouse Brain Trust one more to discuss the world's sexiest topic, which is cross-departmental learnings, how to facilitate them, why you need to facilitate them, and some examples of ways that we've really been able to create some wins on the Pilothouse agency side. You'll be able to create these wins for your brand or your agency after this podcast. I want to welcome everyone here. Megan, why don't we start with you and just say, because you reached out to me, you're like, we got to do a podcast on cross-departmental learnings. So why should everyone care about cross-departmental learnings?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, I started this whole journey with, looking at all of our different departments and how they communicate with each other. And, what is Amazon learning from Google and what is Facebook learning from email? And that opened a whole can of worms. There's just so much to cover there. So I thought it would make a really interesting topic. But I think we have to start off with the question, like, why should you care to ask that question? Why should you pay attention to it? Why should you, ask that question between different departments in your business? Or, what can you learn from that, basically? And I think it all boils down to, it can save you money.
That's a good
is the reason why you should care. Yeah, it can save you a lot of money. Sharing learnings between departments can just open up so much valuable information that you didn't consider on a certain platform that's crushing on one, and you can apply it to another, and in surprising ways. So that's what I'm hoping we can talk about today.
That's awesome. Can you give me an example of a time that we've done this in the past?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So one thing that is just top of mind is you can look at your Facebook comments, for example, to see potential roadblocks to purchase, and you can apply that across all your platforms. So you could just look at the comments there and you can get so much valuable information. There's other things that could be like maybe crushing on one that you could use on another. So for example, something that's doing amazing on YouTube could be modified and used on TikTok. Things like that, but you really have to adapt it to the platform that you're using it on. But you still have to look at those learnings across all the platforms.
Nice. Nate, what's something, as one of our lead Facebook media buyers, can you think of something that you've been able to take from another department and apply to create a win?
Yeah, totally. Even something as simple as like using Google Click IDs to target on Facebook. So working with the Google team to see audiences that are crushing on their end and modifying them to use them for Facebook. Like something as simple as that tends to work quite well.
Nice. And then what about you, Rob, on the Amazon side of things? Like you're obviously you can take imagery, you could be using the highest most engaging images that come across on Facebook or Google for Amazon. Give me an example or your thoughts there.
Yeah, so you can definitely use look at winning creatives and stuff like that. Creatives for YouTube are going to be more polished than your typical UGC Facebook stuff, and more polished stuff typically does better on Amazon. So there's some shared learnings there. As well as looking at which ad angles, specifically pain points, are converting with your Facebook ads and bringing that front and center in your listing. So if that's getting someone to click and getting them to the web page, like how can you harness that on your Amazon listing?
And I think the big question is like, how do you get out of silos? Like, what are the actual systems that we use so that when there are wins on specific accounts or on specific traffic sources, that these wins get translated to the rest of the team?
Yeah, that's a good question. And something that we're currently working on, I don't think anyone has a perfect solution to that. One of the things, and this is a challenge, is just having more meetings so that you get the teams together to brainstorm and discuss what's working. I mean, that sucks. Nobody wants more meetings, but just getting everybody together to discuss the account can be really great. We also use like a task management tool as well to share learnings on what creative is working and things like that. And I think there's just different tools and task management stuff that you can use to communicate what's crushing. But honestly, a lot of it comes down to communication and making sure that everybody's talking to each other.
Do we have specific Slack? I know there is a specific Slack channel for cross-departmental learnings between Helmkin, which is our performance marketing lead generation focused company, and Pilothouse. So when they're finding a certain kind of creative style or even specific kind of images working really well on the performance side, that gets sort of translated through to the agency clients on the other side. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. I mean, like a lot of people will post it. We have like a general or a Pilothouse channel, and people will post like questions like, hey, like I have this conundrum. How do I crush on this? And then everyone will just kind of swarm in like piranhas and be like, this is what's working for me. Hey, try this, try that. And that's one of the great things of working at Pilothouse is everybody has a million ideas. So you can always mine that for some gold there if you're struggling.
I love it. How are you doing, Saul? I know we're keeping you from your lunch, but we're very glad you could be here. Any thoughts from you on the Google side of things? Like I know, you guys are heads down building out these campaigns. What are you, because you guys have, you're the highest intent traffic source out there. Are you able to provide learnings to the Facebook team that really help them or vice versa?
Yeah. First of all, yeah, you're lucky I had something to eat because I was really cranky. You don't want cranky Saul.
No.
Yeah. So Taylor's here, and besides, the good old UTM click ID stuff for Facebook campaigns. We usually also get the best angles from them to see if there's any search volume surrounding those angles. Obviously, we make segments. I think I've mentioned that before. We've made segments also on analytics from Facebook traffic to be able to add it to our Google audiences and bid accordingly. So that's all optimizations that you can use cross channel. Also, we've been working a lot more with our Amazon team because of the search based nature of their ads as well. So the Amazon buyers and Google buyers right now, they're for a couple of our clients that we have in both platforms, they're discussing keyword strategies, what's working on Amazon, what's working on Google, see if they can add some of that to the Amazon mix. And overall, right now, I think Google is being a real help with not attribution, but just making sure that the guys have signals that they can follow. Now that the pixel has scrapped out, analytics is a better place for them to find, like Taylor calls them, signals for them to make decisions on Facebook ads. And analytics is also very, it's almost real time. So they can see what's going on the day and make their decisions based on that. And I think it's right now, you can see traffic better on analytics than they could see before on their dashboard. And I think that's helping us also navigate this whole iOS 14 debacle with the Facebook stuff.
Nice. Taylor, are you rolling up? I know you're such a data focused person. Are you really rolling up your sleeves and diving into analytics as well for some of this source of truth?
Heavily, yeah. I think we found it really valuable, even for us, ensuring the entire team understands the nuances of each channel, like where it fits into the funnel, where it typically is most efficient in the funnel, and being able to analyze that. I'm looking at analytics, comparing platforms day to day, trying to get a read on consumer trends as well, or troubleshoot how we can improve or what we should scale more and things like that too. So we find that's really helpful in general, getting a read, for example, of knowing the nuances of attribution within analytics, how that differs from each platform, and then how those data points change throughout the week, throughout the month, whatever that looks like. It gives us good indicators about what platform to focus a day on in looking at our overall ecosystem efficiency, if that makes sense.
Totally. I think there's, there's two kinds of cross-departmental learnings here, and they're kind of different for maybe brands and for agencies. With brands, you're really going to focus on those different traffic sources, whether it's your own media and all these other paid channels that you want to have learnings flowing across between. But if you're listening and you're an agency, there's just also so much value in learnings from client to client. So whether it's just, hey, quadrant ads are working. So ads that come in a 4-square quadrant, are working well with this client. Let's test them there. I feel like a lot of those wins come down to creative trends, like whatever eye-catching creative trends are sort of happening in the moment, going across all clients, just to make sure that they're all benefiting from the learnings that individual media buyers make. Would you agree with that's sort of how it works, Megan?
Yeah, absolutely. We share information like that all the time. It's super valuable. Just to kind of preface all that, though, testing is always still so important, because just because something is crushing on one account doesn't mean it's going to crush on another, and same between departments. So we're still always testing everything. But there is a lot to learn, between different accounts. Even if they seem like from completely different realms, sometimes weirdly the trends will translate across anyway. So you kind of have to think outside of the box and not limit yourself too much when you're starting to test things that are working on other accounts.
How did nutrition brand Newsist increase their cart conversion rate? They became an eco-friendly brand with EcoCart. EcoCart is a free e-commerce plugin for D2C brands to offer more sustainable products through carbon-neutral ordering options at checkout. Visit ecocart.io to get started on your path to saving the planet while profiting.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think another big piece of it too, and more so on the cross-departmental learnings, is like actual testing efficiency as well. Obviously, because we're spending so much on Facebook, a lot of the times we can test things a lot faster and we can test a lot more at once. Whereas maybe some on YouTube or TikTok, we don't have the same budget and we can't test, 20 different ads all at one time. And so we can test, a bunch of different angles, creative styles, copy, and different messaging, landing pages on Facebook, and then apply those learnings to other platforms without actually having to, increase budgets there and test a whole lot more. We can find winners from Facebook and start to build them out on other platforms.
Love it. It's just sort of when you're following the sort of the rules of Pilothouse, which are so based on on iteration and constantly sort of feeding the machine to be finding these new angles, fighting burnout, all of these things. You just need to have this cross-departmental communication so that you're constantly testing the things that are working elsewhere. It's not rocket science, but it's something that I think companies could get siloed if they're not really thinking about it. What are some of the big challenges to this kind of way of thinking and actually enacting it throughout the business?
Oh man, every department speaks a different language. I would say that's the number one challenge. I don't know, Nate, if you want to weigh in on that, but
and it's just it seems so much easier to just message somebody in a DM than in front of everybody. And I feel like that's a big part of it. Is so much of this happens naturally and organically, but it happens kind of in the background, and so it's not as beneficial to every party. Whereas if you can really open up that conversation, whether it be in meetings or just making sure everybody's really talking in shared channels. But yeah, it can be pretty hard to do at times.
I would say that there's just a ground to cover too in the different possibilities. Like we might notice, for example, say we position a promo in a certain way, an angle or even the name of the promo may perform say we have two. One might do really well on Facebook, given just the external forces on Facebook, where we're meeting someone in the journey, where competition is on the platform, things like that. And then another name of the same sale may end up outperforming on Google, for example. There's a lot of ground you can cover, and it can get easy to get sucked into a lot of different directions. So it's just important to be nimble, but also look at it, look at the different opportunities and try to stay focused as well.
Very cool.
So teach your buyers too that there is value in other channels. And I think everyone at Pilothouse instills this, but it can be easy if you're focused on Amazon that you see a Google update and you don't read it because it's Google, it's not relevant to me, but really it is relevant to you because there might be something you can learn from it there. So just really making sure buyers are aware of that and actually looking at the other channels and what they're doing for value and wins, because it'll help them improve their own channel.
And even on that, something as simple as like combined calls. I know some agencies have like separate calls for different departments with clients. Super important to combine those so that you guys are, talking it all through together and hearing what other departments have to say.
One of the things, I don't think we've done it in a while, but we used to do rocket seats where we'd have specific buyers create presentations on specific campaigns and or accounts and give presentations to the whole company. Is that something that's happening on a smaller scale still, or are some plans to bring that back?
Yeah, we definitely do it consistently still. Obviously, just with the iOS changes and everything going down right now, we've been kind of all piling into that. And our meetings, our weekly meetings for all buyers are really focused on that aspect of it. But we definitely are still doing this going forward, and it's super valuable.
I love it. I think we could do a podcast probably just on Slack and how we organize Slack.
Yes.
Like Slack is just such a big part of our lives. It's bigger than email. Maybe not for me as a newsletter promoter, but what are we sending per day? It's something like over 4,000 messages a day are happening on our Slack.
Slack is love. Slack is life.
Slack is war.
Yeah,
Slack
it's a lot.
Slack is hate. Slack is all of it. Shout out to Slack. If you're listening, Slack, we're looking for sponsors for Q4. We think you'd be a great one because we talk the hell out of you because it's just an essential tool at this point. That's probably where 100% of these learnings are shared.
Also in meetings too.
Yeah.
Like So yeah.
And not Slack meetings, by the way.
Slack.
We're using Hangouts, so we're not totally Slack slaves.
Yeah, Google Meet or Slack is where this is all going down. Yeah.
I love it. Anything, it's a Friday here. It's a long weekend. Anything else to add from anyone before we head off into Miller time? We all drink craft beer though, so.
Yeah, I don't know about Miller time. I just say like that this particular podcast is really timely because of iOS 14. Just with the changes there, looking at your overall ecosystem and performance is super important. Like all the guys have already just said. But now more than ever, you should be paying attention to this, whether you're a brand or an agency. Ask these questions, think about it critically, make sure you're communicating with your team, and you can't go wrong.
Yeah, that's really hard to do if you're not communicating properly between departments or between departments. If you have, Google trying to look at overall and Facebook trying to look at overall completely separately, it obviously isn't going to add up properly. So it's important to definitely be in constant communication.
Nice. Well, we certainly had no chaser with this all killer, no filler episode on cross-departmental learning. So I want to thank everyone for taking the time today. And let's keep communicating out there. It's easy to get in those silos, but there's just always so much value in connecting with your coworkers, especially when they're as bright and lovely as all of you are.
Aw.
Thanks, everyone. And for laughing at all my jokes. You guys are the best. If you want to find more about Pilothouse, you go to pilothouse.co, fill out a form. We'll be in touch with you. We'll get on the phone and talk about any issues you may be having with your current cross-departmental issues, as well as any traffic source that under the sun. We can also help you with that. So go to pilothouse.co.com. And if you haven't already, go to direct-to-consumer.co right now and subscribe to our amazing newsletter where all of these learnings are sent out on a weekly basis. Anyone with any exciting weekend plans to share?
Not me.
Nate, no
one's got anything, huh? No, we're just working. We're just working.
Hiking and biking, working.
Hiking, biking, working.
My friend just bought a new house. I'm going to see it tonight. So that's pretty exciting
that's
to me. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, see that you want to work with people that are, not too exciting on the weekends because you want them to still be checking out your campaign. So I think this works well. Awesome. And thanks and thank God Saul got some food before joining us because he's been an absolute pleasure as well.
Oh, so.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you.